manifest in ourselves. We all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Welcome to The Pivot. Linda Emerson, a.k.a. Small Biz Lady, America's #1 small business expert, best-selling author of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. So today, it's all about the plan. So today it's all about the plan. What you really about to do? Do you even have one? You're watching The Pivot with Stephanie Humphrey. Thank you for tuning in. And I am here with my good friend, Melinda Emerson, a.k.a. Small Biz Lady. She is widely regarded as America's #1 small business expert. She's the best-selling author of Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, revised and expanded. Melinda, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here with you, Steph. It's always good to talk about a plan.
We got to have a plan. Listen, and it's interesting. I know people are probably like, "Dag, we already up to plan." Because I kind of when I laid out the order of how these episodes would go, I tried to make it logical. Like, we're going to talk about mindset first, and fear, and all these other things. It might feel like plan is coming a little early for y'all, but it's not, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because Melinda and I had a conversation a little while ago, a few days ago, and there is a plan before you even get to the plan. We ain't even talking about the business plan yet. We're gonna get to that, but there's a whole nother plan that you should be thinking about before you get to the plan. But before we get to that, talk to us about why planning is so important, especially during major life transitions.
Well, it's like anything in life. If you don't plan to fail, but you fail to plan. I mean, literally, it's like that. And the thing about it is that the thing that I get concerned about related to people starting businesses is people spend more time planning their family vacation, their girlfriend's trip, their 50th birthday party, than they plan how they're going to support themselves and their family financially.
Right.
And we cannot be like, our fear of math, can't be the reason why you're not willing to put some numbers on paper and understand, what's really going on. But as you said, before you even get to numbers and marketing, we got to talk about you. We have to talk about your life plan. Because what I want you to think about before you get all wrapped up and excited about your passion for this business, I want you to think about what you want and why you want it. Because sometimes what you might need is just to get another job. You might just have a boss that's a jerk. Because before you put out your shingle and you say you are open for business, you got to understand what that means. And the main thing it means is that if you don't work, you don't eat.
That's it. I tell people all the time, I only eat what I kill, basically. So you got to be prepared, mentally for the idea that it all is going to be on you at that point. And that is a major, major mindset shift that I don't think people appreciate enough. I think social media has made the idea of being an entrepreneur very trendy, very sexy.
Everybody wants to be a boss, right?
Everybody and their mama.
Until they actually have to be one and really understand what that is. And, so I just want people to get clear about what they want, what kind of lifestyle they want, how much money do they need to make to be happy. Right. You men out there, y'all especially need to be looking at that, because some of y'all are caught up in what's in your pocket makes you feel like what your self-worth is. So you really need to get clear about the money piece for you personally. Then you got to get clear about even your money mindset. Does it feel like I can't monetize my gift? Look, I go to church every Sunday, and what I believe is that God wants the best for me, and that He gave me these gifts so that I could enrich the world with His story, but I'm also allowed to enrich myself. And so I want you guys to that money mindset is really, really important as well. But I want you to get clear about what you want and why you want it first. And then now if you if you get there and you're like, yes, I know.
And you still say, because let's be clear. I'm gonna hold you right there, because we're gonna be clear. Like, we're talking about the pivot and the idea of making some sort of major transition in life. That does not necessarily need to mean becoming an entrepreneur. That life is not for everybody. That life is not a game, and it's not for everybody. We're kind of giving you tools and tips, because that's what most people want to do. They typically want to leave a job and start something of their own. So that's sort of the thread we're going down. But, these same principles and what Melinda's, explaining to us today, that the keys she's dropping for us today really apply to any sort of major transition in your life, getting clear on what you actually want and why.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And then after you have that, after you kind of have spent that quality time with yourself, kind of figuring out what the new plan is, the next thing I want to invite you to do is then figure out how you're going to pay for it, right? Because the money to start your business is going to come from your right or your left pocket. That's what it is. So you've got to figure out, you've got to look at where you are financially. Do you got a whole bunch of credit card debt? Are you driving, or you and your partner, driving brand new cars? We got 2 big car payments in the driveway. How about your housing situation? You got a $3,000 or $4,000 a month mortgage. Like, you got to look at whether or not you can afford to become an entrepreneur, because here's the secret, and nobody's going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you. It takes 12 to 18 months for a small business to break even, let alone
so you ain't even making no money yet.
No, you ain't making no money.
You just ain't losing nothing.
The business is barely going to be able to take care of its own bills a year and a half in. So that is not like, so how you going to live in the meantime, right? So what I tell people all the time is, like, you got to be saving 30 to 40% of every paycheck a year before you quit your job. A year. Or if you are a 2-income household, learn to live on 1 income, because that's what you're going to be living on, right? So
that's right.
I want you guys to start almost like recoiling your lifestyle a little bit. And it's not that hard, right? How many of y'all out here, y'all got a latte a day habit, right? or you be sliding by Dunkin' for whatever it is. Even if you like going out on Friday and Saturday nights with your friends, guess what? Drinks are cheaper if you pour them for yourself at home, right? So there's all kinds of things you can do. If you are not someone that's currently using a budget, I invite you to track your spending for 30 days. And I mean, including that Amazon click and ship habit you got too. So I want you to track your expenses. Look at your bank statement and look at how you spend money. And I promise you, you can find the money. What about all these subscriptions y'all paying for?
Oh my God, don't even get me started on the subscriptions. It's completely out of control at this point. Do you really need
4 streaming services? Do you really need it? Right. So there's lots of ways we out here wasting money. Right. And so what I want you to think about is your finances, because you need to have that first year of working capital. You need to have an emergency savings account for yourself.
And that's the thing. I want to emphasize that, because, people really need to understand that whatever sort of transition you are looking to make, whether it is to your own business or, if you're going just from, one job to the next job and those paychecks kick back in after 2 weeks, that's something different. But for most people, for the large majority of people who are considering a major pivot in their life, you are going to be without an income for a pretty significant period of time, most likely.
1 to 2 years. 1 to 2 years average. And then you've also got to think about stuff like, if you're the head of your household, how are you covering health insurance? Right? Because Cobra is incredibly expensive. So that's not the health insurance you want. But other insurance out here is doggone expensive too. I mean, just for me, I pay almost $900 a month, and that ain't even the best insurance. Okay, so that's what I need you guys to understand. There's a whole bunch of new expenses out here you had not considered that are going to be all of a sudden things that you've got to deal with. And not to mention the fact life still happens, right? Air conditioners break, kids need braces, transmissions stop running. So you still got to have money to manage, like, household emergencies. And then you've got to have the money, to start your business. So, and the average amount of money you need to start a business is actually $25,000. Now, if you're looking at a franchise or something like that, let's triple that number. Let's say it's 75,000. And that's before you get the SBA loan to do the fit out of your retail space or whatever else you're doing. So there's a whole bunch of money that you have to do this well. Now, that's not to say, I always get these emails, well, I didn't have nothing when I started and I'm okay. Okay, well, it probably took you a lot longer than it would have had you had enough savings to sort of like get your back.
And then why would you want to put that extra stress on you while you're making this major transition? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as they say. So if you do some of that work up front, you may be able to mitigate a lot of the stress of trying to scrape together, bootstrap your way to success, because, it doesn't, you can work smarter, not harder. And if you're willing to delay maybe your exodus from your job by 6 months or a year, maybe that time spent will save you 2 or 3 years on the back end of building together.
100%. And if we keep going down sort of like my steps that I teach actually in my book, Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, I advise people to do just that. So once you get your finances straight and you know how you're going to pay for this new business idea you got, the next thing I want you to do is really look at yourself, look at your skills, and look at, okay, what skills do I have to run this kind of business versus what skills do I need to learn or that I'm going to have to learn to run this business? I actually even tell people, go work part-time like a business you want to start. You thinking about buying a franchise? Go work for one. Go work for that one so that you really know what's involved. Because again, I see people all the time transition from corporate after a 20-year career and go buy this expensive behind franchise. And then 2 years later out here trying to sell their franchise because they hate it.
Right.
I've seen it half a dozen times. I've seen people and they called me after they bought the stuff and I'd be like,
well, I don't know what to tell you at this point because I ain't buying it from you.
Like, had you talked to me or let's say read my book before you did that, you would have thought differently. But again, people get caught up in thinking just because they were successful one place, they're going to be wildly successful in the next place. And I'm like, listen, it's a whole different skill set you need when there's no IT department to call.
That's right. That's right.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
This is our time, our moment to move forward, beyond the gun violence, the hospital closures, the unaffordable housing. Brian Kemp's Georgia for the wealthiest few. Stacey Abrams is looking out for every Georgian. She'll invest our $6 billion surplus in the fundamentals, education, healthcare, housing, and a good living, putting more money in your pocket to build one Georgia where everyone has the freedom to thrive.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
People don't think about the fact that they are now their own bookkeeper, their own accountant, their own, marketing person, their own social media person.
Chief sales operator. You R&D.
CEO, chief everything operator. CEO. So
you get to sign the checks on the front and the back, right?
That's right. So you need to, and I talked about that in my TEDx, be honest about where you are. And if you need to go take a class or like you said, go work at McDonald's or wherever for a little while, or maybe even intern for somebody, humble yourself a little bit and intern for somebody, that may be what you have to do. So, I think part of the plan also needs to be removing your ego from this process.
Oh, definitely. Because the thing about business is you really have to figure out what you know about business.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I was fortunate because I was 26 when I started my first company. And so what I knew was that I didn't know anything about business, right? So I turned myself into the ultimate student of business. Literally, like I have an amazing library of business books. Like they wrote it, I read it, right? The other thing too is I took a class every single year up until like 12, 13 years. I took a class every year. I took negotiating classes. I took business plan classes. I took leadership. I did Leadership Inc. I did the Urban Link Leadership Institute. Like I did things to make myself a better leader in my business, a better marketer, a better negotiator. Like I took classes just to help me think differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're going by the same old thinking when you left your job, you're already behind.
That's
you can't see new technologies coming, or better yet, developing them. So I think that it's really important for you to definitely be humble, be coachable, right? Because you would be amazed what resources people will bring to you if they feel that you can receive them.
Yes, absolutely.
You just always have to.
Personally, what, if anything, would you have changed about your first business plan?
Oh, I would have focused on a niche customer. Mm-hmm. I think we chased anything would call us, anything we thought. I mean, we chased government contracts for 3 years and finally didn't win one in 3 years. And finally was like, okay, I think we need to figure something else out.
That's probably not our best customer.
and it wasn't until we niched in the pharmaceutical space that all of a sudden it was like, all of a sudden we had more business than we could do. Because we finally looked at where we were. We're based in Philadelphia. And we realized that 22 of the top pharmaceuticals in the country were located between New York and Wilmington, Delaware.
Right.
An easy drive for us. And then when we figured that, we were like, oh, well, why do we specialize in health education projects? Oh, yeah. Well, when we did that, they were like, come on in. Oh, we would love to have you.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I think that niche to get rich probably was the thing I didn't learn until years in.
Wow. Niche to get rich. I like that. I like that. Mm-hmm. When you're thinking about a business plan, and like I said, I like this conversation that we've had today, and I'll have you back to get into the nuts and bolts of some of the things that are in your book, and whatever else you could share with us about the actual plan. But when we're thinking about the plan generally, how complicated does a business plan need to be? I think that can be a huge stumbling block for some people, because they think about a business plan as this 50-page proposal that has to include projected revenue for the next 25 years and all the rest of this stuff. So
you never want to project revenue past 3 years, actually, and realistically 1 year, because you don't really know who your customers are early on. But I think that a business plan does not have to be this 40, 50-page manifesto document. Right. But do I think you need 10 good pages that describe what business you are in, how this business is going to run, who's going to be your target customer, how you're going to reach that customers through your sales and marketing activities, and then what your budget is and what your sales projections are and who your team is and that kind of stuff? Yeah, you need a document, if nothing more than think it through in your own head, right? Write it down. And we know just from statistics, things that are written down tend to happen, right? It's if you walking around with how your business runs in your head, you get hit by a bus. You don't want that. So write down a plan that you can take to a bank, that you can take to a potential customer, that you can share with a potential employee or partner. You want a document so that you can get people excited. And then later you'll turn your document like into a slide deck, if you're in a pitch competition or business plan competition or something like that. But you need a written document so that you could do your homework, do your research. You know who your competitors are. You know how you're going to position your website. You know what your content strategy is going to be. You know, what your unique value proposition is going to be. You got to think through all that stuff. But there's lots of really good software out here to build it. Like, you don't have to be sitting in front of a blank screen going,
right.
In the beginning,
right?
Yeah,
not in the beginning.
there's great software out here. Like liveplan.com is one of my favorites. And they actually have a website called bplans.com, and they've got hundreds of examples of business plans on this site that you can check out and look at. And I mean, any kind of business you can think of, they got a sample business plan. So that's helpful. And then you can actually use their software to build yours. And it's like got a lot of formulas and stuff built in. So it's
listen,
easy.
Again, work smarter, not harder. And now for those people who feel the spirit is leading them to pivot, but they don't actually quite know what they want to pivot to, or if they even should pivot, you actually have a great tool for that as well. Tell us about the Boss Quiz.
Yeah, so I created Boss Quiz in partnership with a behavioral scientist. And we really took her 30 years of research and said, what if we could tell people whether or not entrepreneurship is for them, what kind of entrepreneurship that, would be good for them, whether they are what we call a power player, a change maker, a team builder, or what we call a power player. So all of these are, Freedom Seeker actually is the last one. And basically it's just information. If you go to bossquiz.com, you can take my quiz, and then I'm going to produce for you a 9 to 12 page report on you, what your sales skills are, what your values are, what you're good at, what type of business environment might work well for you. In some cases, we might say, listen, you might do really well with a business partner. You're not necessarily cut out to be the front banana. You need another banana beside you. Right. We are going to tell you, based upon 30 different characteristics that we have scientifically developed, what kind of business owner you are, and give you some suggestions on the types of businesses you should look at. And then we also have other options. So let's say you're interested in a franchise or interested in buying an existing business, then we're going to have resources for you to do that as well.
That is wonderful. Because sometimes people just need that push to even start, thinking about something. So I love that you have this available for folks. And now, where can folks go to get more information about you, about the book, about what you do, about coaching, about, Small Biz Lady Inc.? Where can they go?
So the best place for you guys to go is smallbizladyuniversity.com. That is our best website. My online school is there. So I have 4 courses for you guys: how to become your own boss, how to sell and market online, social media selling, and ultimate guide to email marketing. If you guys are interested in my book, it is Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. It is available anywhere books are sold nationwide. And if you just want to follow me on social media, I'm Small Biz Lady pretty much everywhere except for LinkedIn, where I am Melinda Emerson. So feel free to connect with me over there as well. But I just want you to win in business. I just want to encourage you, but I want you to start your business with a plan, because you're going to be far more likely to be successful if you do.
Amen. Amen. And don't forget that there is a plan that comes before the plan. So start doing that work now to save you a little heartburn on the back end. Definitely. Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, thank you so much for being here on The Pivot. We appreciate you.
All right, Steph, anytime.
This is our time, our moment to move forward. Beyond the gun violence, the hospital closures, the unaffordable housing, Brian Kemp's Georgia for the wealthiest few. Stacey Abrams is looking out for every Georgian. She'll invest our $6 billion surplus in the fundamentals: education, healthcare, housing, and a good living. Putting more money in your pocket to build one Georgia where everyone has the freedom to thrive.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
A lot of stuff that
We're not getting, you get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.